Hello, and welcome to No Apples Given, the real trials and triumphs of teaching. I'm your host, recently retired educator Megan Owens, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be launching this new education podcast. For 28 years, I've literally lived and breathed education, from teaching fourth graders who reminded me on a daily basis that scissors and glitter in the hands of 10-year-olds can be hazardous. I've also taught sixth grade reading in English, which we sometimes call the land of hormones, deodorant or the lack thereof, and the sudden realization that group work may not be humanity's greatest invention. And I've also taught high school, where freshmen are basically like puppies with backpacks. They're excited, they're scared, they're confused, and they might be a little bit dangerous if left unsupervised. And I've also served as both an assistant principal and a principal. And let me tell you, that is where I truly learned what the human spirit, body, and mind are capable of. Throughout my time, I've stood in hallways where the fire alarm was pulled by a child during our open house night, and the building was full of over 500 parents and students. One time, a student managed to choke me with my own beautiful new scarf. And in that instance, I realized very clearly that that was a bad wardrobe decision and I wouldn't be doing that again. And I've also led professional development across the state where every teacher in the room silently, but with their eyes, begged me, please don't make us do another icebreaker. And trust me, I get it. This podcast is for anyone who's ever set foot in a school: teachers, leaders, aides, subs, custodians, secretaries, counselors, parents, anybody, even just people who really want to know what goes on behind a classroom door. Because let's be honest, America loves teachers in theory, but most people have no idea what teachers deal with every single day in their classrooms. Most people love the idea of cute kids placing apples on a teacher's desk, but they don't like to picture the kid who tried to choke me with my own scarf. Yes, that really happened, and I won't bring it up again. But in the 28 years, I've seen the unthinkable, the unforgettable. I've seen the hilarious and the heartbreaking. I've had students cuss me out, some with such great vocabulary and creativity that I kind of admire their literary craftsmanship. I mean, come on. And I've cleared classrooms more times than I can count. And I didn't clear those classrooms out of fear, but really to protect the dignity and safety of every person involved. I've also sat across from dozens of parents who were absolutely convinced that they could do my job better than I could. And I've also held the hands of grandparents who were suddenly raising their grandchildren, desperate for guidance and praying that they were doing the right thing. I have been hit by so many objects, I can't even tell you, from pencils to chairs to feces. Yes, feces. And I've even been bitten a time or two. So much to talk about. So much drama. More drama, I'd say, than probably an educator's salary truly can compensate for. But I've also witnessed so many triumphs, so many successes, so beautiful that honestly, they made every bruise, every bite, every broken pencil worth it. I've watched students who were certain they'd never graduate walk across that stage, proving themselves wrong in the most powerful of ways. I've seen teachers rediscover their confidence after having years that would break most people. I've watched struggling students find their way through challenges that would bring most adults to their knees. And they came out stronger, braver, and even more determined. Through it all, I've thrown parties for success after success. I've written so many thank you notes to parents, to teachers, to the community to share the good news that is coming from our building. And those moments are the ones that remind me of why this work matters, even on those days when it almost breaks us. But if you want a perfect, polished version of what education is, this may not be the podcast for you. But if you're looking for honesty, humor, love, humanity, you're in the right place. And here's something a lot of people maybe know and maybe they don't know about me, but education runs really deep in my veins. I come from a family of educators so large that we could staff an entire school building by ourselves. And I'm being serious about that. I actually have more than 15 family members who are either currently working in education or have in the past, including my grandfather, who is a member of the school board. And we have teachers, principals, coaches, secretaries, speech pathologists, counselors, bus drivers, and custodians. If there's a job in a school building, someone in my family has probably done it and probably has a lot of stories about it. And guess what? They're all, well, those who are willing, are coming on this podcast and they're going to talk about those things. I'm going to interview them, every grade level, job description, generation. In addition to my family, I'm also going to interview other educators from across the state. I've got rookie teachers, retired pros, people who survived the era of the amazing overhead projectors, and people who think those TikTok dances should be banned from classrooms permanently, kind of like the bottle flips and the fidget spinners. In fact, I already have a handful of friends who've agreed to be interviewed, so it's getting exciting around here. And maybe those educator friends can help me figure out, what does 6'7" really mean? Somebody help me figure that out. You're going to hear from real educators who've seen it all, like recess in 20-degree weather, those who have mastered the art of whisper yelling, it's a real thing, and even those who've had to break up fights, and the ones who save student lives without ever being recognized for it. This podcast will give voice to the people who do the hardest work with the softest hearts. So, if you're already not convinced to tune in to No Apples Given, you need a few more reasons? Here's why. Because education isn't cute, it isn't clean, and it sure as hell isn't quiet. It's coffee stains on paperwork. It's sitting in your car wondering, how did I survive this day? And can I come back tomorrow? It's laughing so hard with your coworkers that it feels like therapy. Saying it's fine, everything's gonna be fine, even on those hard days. It's hiding and maybe even crying a little in the bathroom between classes or on your break, and then walking out with a smile because you know your students need you. And it's being ignored by a student that you say hello to at 8:15 a.m. and then turn around and be given a giant hug by another student at 8:17. It's all the ups and downs. Teaching's chaotic, it's heartbreaking, hilarious, and beautiful, often all at once. And this world needs to hear what it's really like. So, here's what this podcast will give you: staff room confessions, classroom chaos told with humor, perspectives from leadership, interviews with educators, hopefully some tips, tricks, and wisdom, honest talk about burnout, school culture, and mental health, because educators deserve spaces where we can talk about that. And all those moments that make this profession worth every scar and every smile. You'll also get some of my favorite, I cannot believe this happened at a school story. And trust me, there are plenty. And this podcast is going to be part comedy, part therapy, and part professional development. At the core of every story, whether chaotic, funny, or heartbreaking, this is the simple truth, you guys. Education's about people: kids who need safety, structure, and love, teachers who give more every day than they have, and staff members who show up no matter what happened the day or the night before. And you know what? Communities depend on their school districts, and they can also rise or fall based on how they're supported. So, this podcast celebrates all of that. And please know, my utmost priority will always be student confidentiality, and specific student names will never be used. So, you know what? Thank you for joining me for this very first introduction episode of No Apples Given. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. And trust me, the stories we have lined up are going to make you want to tune in. And you're probably even going to be shaking your head saying, yep, seen that, been there, done that. New episodes will come out every Friday starting this winter. And be sure to follow me on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you enjoyed today's episode, a quick rate and review would be greatly appreciated. You guys, this has been No Apples Given, the real trials and triumphs of teaching with me, Megan Owens, helping educators survive one lesson, one day, and one laugh at a time. Because I promise, everything's going to be fine. Thanks for joining me, and here's your reminder: you're doing your best, you're braver than the bad days, and you're never alone in this adventure of education. At the end of the day, this podcast is going to be about creating a positive, supportive, and uplifting community of educators who are just real people talking about real stories with no apples given. Until next time, teach boldly, lead bravely, and don't forget to enjoy the ride.